problem solved. Council, if we can get everybody's mic to turn green, please. When that clock hits 30, we will go ahead and kick off. And there we are. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good evening, members of public, both in the room and attending virtually, and to the council and department heads sitting to my right and left. Katie, please call roll.
Schumate.
Here.
Cox.
Here.
Cosmore. Here. McNabb.
Here.
Molnar.
Here.
Valentine.
Here.
Wood. Here.
We have a full house this evening, and I'm very excited to have a new member sitting next to me in this seat. Obviously, members of public and everybody up here knows that there's been an appointment for our next city administrator, and so great to see you sitting next to me, and we're so excited for you in that role. With that being said, I'd actually like to turn over the floor to you. I think you had something you'd like to address with members in attendance this evening.
Yes, thanks, Mayor and Council. On Sunday, one of our neighboring communities lost a police officer in the line of duty. Officer Saeed Mohammed. He was 23 years old. He was protecting a community very similar to Gibraltar, small town community, smaller police department. He had only been on the job about a year. So I'd like to take a moment of silence to remember him. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Council and members of public, in front of you, you'll see this evening's agenda. Council, you also have the supporting documentation in your packet. We'd be looking for a motion for approval of this evening's agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Motion by Cosmore, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wood. Any discussion on this evening's agenda? Katie, please call roll.
Cox.
Yes.
Cosmore.
Yes.
McNabb.
Yes.
Molnar.
Yes.
Schumate.
Yes.
Valentine.
Yes.
Wood. Yes.
Well, with that, we have an approved agenda, and first and foremost, would love to take this opportunity to open up to members of public. Members of public, as you approach that podium, make sure that light is green for us, and please state your name and address.
Hi, everybody. My name is Rick Markham, 31025 Island Drive. I think most of you know me, many of you. I want to talk about the latest inspection program that we have going on using the 2015 new building code. And so I have some, I don't know, pieces of paper, souvenirs. I have some souvenirs if anybody wants to see this, but the outline is done with.
Thank you.
Did everybody get one?
And Mr. Markham, also note that the information you had sent over has been passed along to all council and department heads.
Oh, good. Okay. So, basically, tell you the whole, give you the whole background of the story. I got an 80-year-old duplex that was built in like 45 or something like that, and it was built in Dearborn, and it was shipped here and set on a new foundation. Many people in town say it was brought in by barge. It's right over here on Lowell. And basically, it's old. It's 80 years old. And so I bought the property in 2004. And it's been a great property for me. People love living there. All the neighbors appreciate the people that we bring in. So it all works out. So about 2008, my insurance company called and said, you got to put a rail on that steps out front. So I did. And at the time, my mom was living there, and my brother was handicapped, and I had to have something really strong. So I built it out of 4x4s. big beefy things you can lean against. So then I received a notice recently that I had inspections been pending, and I had to go through this checklist. And this checklist here, everybody, all the renters, everybody gets this, and it doesn't have anything in here about the 2015 brand-new building code. So I'm trying to bring an 80-year-old building to 2015 codes, right? So there used to be this thing called grandfathered. So if I really get pressed, because I got to do this every 3 years, if I get pressed to bring this thing to brand-new codes every 3 years, I'm never going to, I won't be able to make it. And it's a beautiful building. It's beautiful inside and out. And let's see, let me continue on my notes here. So a lot of ordinances, because you guys know I've been on the planning commission for what, 13 years. A lot of ordinances have grandfather clauses. When you get electrical, say National Electric Code. National Electric Code, until you tear down a building and tear down that wall, whatever was in it a long time ago, if it still works, it's still okay. So I don't understand why I'm being forced to put this rail up when the rail works perfectly fine. It just doesn't meet the very specific code. I've got it right here. It's a R3117-8-3 grip size. So imagine there's half a page of specification on the grip size. You don't think we're over? I think we're overdoing it myself. So now I'm being required to change this. There are many 2x6s and 2x4s and cement and brick and all that stuff are out there in our town. Many. And now they're not being charged to bring it up to modern code, but I am. I just think it's wrong. And I know it's a small thing, and I could fix it for $10. That's not the point. The point is, why do we not have a grandfather clause? That's my question. So I'm going to start getting fined, all that stuff, if I don't comply to what I think is overreaching. We said we're going to make this not city changing, but this is city changing. So that's my story. Got more stuff to back up, but I'm told to replace that handrail.
And Mr. Markham, I know you and I have spoken, and I really appreciate you for coming tonight, and I think it's important for council and department heads to hear your experience. I'll just, for the sake, I did some research, and I wanted to share that with everybody involved. As you may be aware, and I'm sure you are because you've done longstanding work to support the community, planning and DDA being an example of that. We were in a scenario and council had the discussion where while our language has always stated that rental inspections should be performed, they were not being performed.
I know that. I was aware of that.
And so now that we're going through this evolution of abiding by our language and performing those inspections, I checked in with the team today, and there's been over 500 inspections done since council set the motion for these inspections to be performed. They've had less than a handful of individuals, including yourself, obviously express disagreement or challenges with the inspection process or the finding of the inspection. So I just want to put that in context for council. But it's not to minimize anything that you're going through, and that's what I wanted to talk about today. I think a couple things come to mind to me. Our charter, and I thank Treasurer Fonte and other parties, our charter does allow for the establishment of a rental inspection appeal board. And it's something that I think council should consider enacting, something that many communities have. That appeal board would consist of a mayor-appointed representative, one that does not conflict with council proceedings, the city administrator, and the building inspector. And that appeal board could then take situations like you're bringing to council today and evaluate them as to any recommendation to approve a situation that may not be deemed conforming to our language. So council, I think that's the systemic picture I wanted to raise tonight, which is I think we should seriously consider that approach, especially as we have a wave of inspections being performed with a lot of rental property owners who may not agree with everything in those inspections and or been not used to the process for the inspections, given that we weren't really upholding that requirement previously. So that's one action. The second action for you is, I think council, and I think I speak for everybody, but please council chime in. Our goal is not to transform the city of Gibraltar.
But that's, see, if we stuck to this,
Yeah.
it would be okay, because this does not mention the 2015 code. This is just some things that we need to do that every place should be done. This is standard, keep people safe.
100%, and in that line of thinking, right?
This is not. This is right out of 2015. So somebody is going farther than what they're supposed to go. That's what I'm saying.
And I fully appreciate that, and that's why I want to have the dialogue with everybody involved this evening, right? To make sure we're very mindful of that, because I
right.
think philosophically speaking, at least I'll speak for myself, our goal is not to transform. Our goal really in our directive was to, number one, do our duty in abiding by ordinance language, which was not previously being done, and two, to make sure that the, the inspections are focused on safety elements. Now, you and I could agree or disagree,
Yeah.
right? The graspable handrail, from my education as somebody who's not an expert in this area, is intended to be a safety observation so that if somebody does fall, they can grasp it while falling. Now, we can agree or disagree on that, but that's the logic behind it,
Oh, I
right?
totally get that.
And so that's why I say that example, right? And you've highlighted maybe a minimal cost fix, $10 as you quoted, right? It's more the principle that you're saying, look, this is transformative and it's a requirement that I may not fully endorse. And I would say that that's a broader discussion we should have from a policy perspective, right? Because while our building department or officials in ordinance language might state that's a safety observation, graspability, right? If in the event of a fall, right? That's something we can think about. And I, pardon me, I tie that back to, it's not an area that we've heard a lot of objections to, right? Less than a handful of people that have pushed back in these inspection processes, but it doesn't minimize that it's something we shouldn't look at, so.
The point, maybe I need to get clarification on that.
Yeah.
The point is, nowhere in this document that was sent out does it state 2015 and state that all the things that have come back and I don't live up to. So this is my point. They're going to be doing this from now on. They're going to find things that are in the new code. We shouldn't be looking at the new code. We should be looking at what we're trying to do in the city. That's what I'm trying to say.
100%. So my commitment, I think, is twofold, and I'd love to open up to council, is twofold. One, thank you for raising this, because we're learning as we're going through this process, right? And your education to us will help us as we think about the paperwork, right? The education, the engagement with rental property owners, and how we do this right. So that's the bigger picture. Now, my commitment to you is, I will make sure our charter has it, right? The Rental Inspection Board of Appeals. So I will make sure to follow up with both council and yourself as to that process, right? Which will help address the tactical situation of your graspable handrail.
Right.
And then secondarily, right, council, as policy drivers, can take a look at the document you've shared, the absence of the graspable handrail, even if it's in the IPMC, to understand how we, from a policy perspective, manage that moving forward. So that's my commitment to you. It'll help solve the tactical aspect of what you're going through from an appeals perspective, and it will also help your education to us, help us address the bigger
good.
picture here.
It's all good.
Does
I
that seem like a
appreciate it.
fair path?
It's fair, it's fair.
I'd like to
Councilman
make a
Valentine?
motion that we suspend any fines or penalties until Mr. Markham goes before the Rental Inspection Appeal Board.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion on that? Katie, can you please call roll?
Hosmer?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Mulnar?
Yes.
Schumate?
Yes.
Valentine?
Yes.
Wood? Yes. Cox?
Yes.
So you will not be fined until we have a chance to work this out. And just thank you for the education as we grow together. Thank you. Appreciate it.
As we create a board, an appeals board for that, I hope we can do so with minimal fee to appeal to that board.
I like that. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Council, I can take that as obviously a discussion item for, who's going to be that appointment. I want to make sure it's something that, while it'd be an appointment that's required for that third member, that's somebody that we all would support. Any initial suggestions on who that third member would be? The other two members would be city administrator and building inspector. Any suggestions on that third member?
If there's anybody with a blue shirt that's interested,
In a blue shirt?
we might have somebody right there.
I would love to have somebody with knowledge of the space and the specifics, so we're looking at a gentleman in the audience, but we'll take this as a follow-up. I don't want to implicate anybody, but, and then I'll bring it back to council just to make sure we're all on the same page. I like the idea, mitigation of fees suggestion. And then Mr. Markham, it'll help us as we go through this to understand policy-wise where we need to waiver. Thank you so
We
much.
do want to make sure we're covering the safety aspect.
Precisely, and that's really the
Because
root
these
of
kind
this.
things, 'cause somebody that uses handrails, I depend on them. We want to make sure that all the codes that we're doing, want to make sure that we are covering them.
I appreciate that. City Attorney, anything else you would comment on in context of this topic?
Well, the ordinance already calls for a Board of Appeals, so it's just a matter of the city now following through with what the ordinance states. And there is a requirement that the city or the Board of Appeals publish their policies and procedures of how they're going to handle appeals. So that's something, once that board is formed, that they would need to do before they have any hearings.
Love that, and we'll work closely with you to make sure we meet all those requirements.
Yep.
Mr. Markham, thank you. Members of public, anybody else have any comments for council this evening? If so, please approach the podium. I'm sure that light might still be green, and state your name and address for me.
Hello, I am Kat Markham. Sorry, this is a little high. 31025 Island Drive. And it's just a comment. I was looking on the website today to see what time the meeting was, and I clicked on council members, and it's all the old council and the old mayor, their faces, their pictures. So I just wanted you to know.
Well, thank you
And
very
it's
much.
cityofgibraltarmi.gov.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
We'll look into that. I know we did update the page, because I recall seeing some new photos and names, but maybe there, to your point, is another link that we need to look into updating. So we will take that. Thank you.
Yeah, there's a bunch of tabs on the side.
Appreciate
And
that.
when you say the current or whatever, the names show up in your email addresses and stuff. But when it says council members and all the pictures show up, it's not you guys.
Well, we greatly
What's
appreciate
you?
that. Yes. We're just honoring those before us, but we need to fix that technologically, so thank you. Appreciate it.
To that council meeting.
The Markham family's coming through tonight. That's a doubleheader. I like it. Members of public, any other comments for council this evening? We'll have another public comment at the close of this evening's meeting.
Mr. Mayor, may I real quick?
Please.
After we did our moment of silence, I received a text message, and I know the community has been following probably the shooting in Melvindale, but just within the last 5 minutes, the shooter has been placed in custody, so that's great news.
Thank you so much. If there is no other public comment this evening, make sure you leverage the public comment before we close. And with that, I will turn over to our next session, which is a presentation. It's a presentation by Enterprise for Fleet Management Services.
The light is still green, so we're good. Thank you. Thank you all for having me today. My name is Evan Crank. I am with Enterprise Fleet Management. Enterprise Fleet Management is a affiliate of the company that you all may know as Enterprise Rent-A-Car. So Enterprise Mobility is the parent company that owns a lot of different entities, Enterprise Fleet Management being one of those. So Enterprise Fleet Management is the largest fleet management company in the world. We have the largest fleet of vehicles in the world, and we are the Sourcewell awarded fleet management company for municipalities. So with that, I've had the opportunity to meet with the police chief and identify some areas of opportunity within the fleet for the city of Gibraltar. So I wanted to discuss some of those today. In your packet, there's something that's called a board synopsis. I think it's a fleet synopsis towards the back. I'll be referencing that a lot through the next couple minutes here, so if you can have that readily available, that would be appreciated. So as I mentioned, Enterprise Fleet Management is the largest fleet management company in the world. Locally, we partner with over 65 municipalities. Some of those include the City of Trenton, Brownstown Charter Township, the City of Lincoln Park, the City of Monroe, and many others. The largest municipality or city that we partner with is the City of Detroit. So I partner with companies that, or cities, counties, townships that have anywhere from 20 vehicles all the way up to the City of Detroit having north of 1,000. A big reason why this program makes so much sense is because vehicle costs have never been higher. If you look over the last 4 years, new vehicle acquisition prices are up north of 20%. What isn't north of 20% in increase is the budgets that you guys are operating with. So a lot of municipalities have reached out to Enterprise to assist with the funding and the acquisition of their vehicles. Specifically with Gibraltar and the police department, the chief was looking at an acquisition of close to $70,000 for one vehicle. Through our partnership, Enterprise is able to offer leased vehicles or finances for 5 vehicles for the same amount of money as you guys would spend for one. Now, why that's so important is because the city is already has a very outdated fleet when you look at the average age. So more than 50% of the vehicles in the fleet are north of 10 years old. Some things that are important to think about when you think about age of vehicles is, one, the safety of the drivers and the safety of the vehicles themselves, the maintenance costs that are associated with an older fleet, as well as the lower fuel efficiency of those vehicles. So with that, I mean, the police chief just mentioned to me earlier that he has one maintenance repair that's over $4,200 that he is currently trying to weigh the options of. A lot of what Enterprise's partnership revolves around is more of a consultative approach, so that the chief doesn't have to run into those issues, because typically you would be rotating out of vehicles before they ever get to a point where you need to spend that much money in maintenance. Especially for the police department, when their job is to provide safety for the community, you can't have vehicles that are either down and in the shop or just a liability when it comes to the driver's safety. So this packet has a lot of different references in regards to new safety technology that's on vehicles over the last 10 years. I would say 90% of the fleet, probably closer to 80% of the fleet for the city doesn't have any of those safety components on their vehicles. So in referencing this packet for you, and just to highlight some of those key points of this partnership. So the current fleet age is negatively impacting the overall budget and the fleet operation. With that, 50% of the current fleet is over 10 years old, and a big part of that is the limited resale that comes along with an aging fleet, right? Because the resale component to managing a fleet of vehicles is arguably just as important as the purchase price. So what Enterprise really hones in on is, one, buying it at the best possible price, which the city does through different buying cooperatives, MyDeal, Sourcewell, whatever you guys want to use. But the second part of that is selling it at the most optimal time. And Enterprise will help do that because we identify the best time to sell it, which then will lower your maintenance expenses, because we get rid of that vehicle before it starts to charge you $4,200 for one repair. Newer vehicles have increased fuel efficiency. So this is important when you look at the fleet in total, because again, every couple of years, vehicles lose fuel efficiency. So when you look at a brand new 2024 Police Tahoe, that vehicle is averaging 21 miles per gallon in fuel efficiency. If you look at a 2015, that vehicle is probably operating close to 15 miles per gallon. What is that 6 miles per gallon across a fleet that's driving 15,000, maybe 20,000 miles per year? How does that impact the city's bottom line? Because fuel is a big component to it as well. When you look at the objective of what this partnership is trying to achieve, Enterprise is trying to identify an effective vehicle life cycle that will maximize the equity, so the resale in your fleet, as well as creating a conservative savings of over $400,000 over the first 10 years. So I put together a financial analysis that is more so a recommendation for the city on how they should approach this partnership. And that analysis provided $404,000 of savings over the next 10 years by taking Enterprise's recommendations, leveraging our buying power and our infrastructure, as well as the MyDeal buying cooperative that the city is able to benefit from in the acquisition of vehicles. I want to reference back to some of the employees or the safety functions of newer vehicles. So currently 6 vehicles that are in the fleet for the city predate anti-lock brake standardization, which was effective in 2007. 6 vehicles come before the electronic stability control standardization, which was in 2012, and 17 of the vehicles come before backup camera. So somebody that utilizes the backup camera often, I know how important that is and what increase in driver safety that would provide for the city as well. Now, what I believe is most beneficial about this partnership is the consultation that comes along with the partnership. So the city will be assigned what's called a client strategy manager, which is somebody like myself that will meet with you 3 or 4 times a year to identify and target vehicle replacements on the best time of year to replace your vehicles, as well as which vehicles are costing the most in maintenance, the most in fuel, and ultimately being the biggest headache for the different department heads of the city. So again, Enterprise, we are the Sourcewell provided dealer for fleet management. And with that, the big benefit is, one, the city gets the buying power and the infrastructure of a company that has over 2 million vehicles in our fleet. And you guys get to leverage that with your 20 vehicle or 25 vehicle fleet. You now get the buying power and the infrastructure and the technology of a company that all we do is manage vehicles. And this is what we do. We do it for 65 municipalities in the state of Michigan and over 600 commercial clients as well.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
I have a couple questions.
Yes.
These vehicles that you propose to give to the city, are they former rental cars that you guys rented?
Nope, they are brand-new vehicles. So Enterprise is more so the financing mechanism for the city. So how this works, and I'll give you an example of the chief's Chevy Tahoe that he has sought out from Berger Chevy. Enterprise will essentially go buy that vehicle from Berger and finance it back to the city. So the city makes lease payments, but the city owns the vehicle and owns all decision-making when it comes to that vehicle. Enterprise is just the bank, essentially. So we will finance that vehicle over a specified term that we identify is best for the city. And then at the end of that term, Enterprise will sell that vehicle, and whatever we sell it for over what is owed at that current time goes back to the city's funds.
Is the city still responsible for paying for, like, say, installation of police radios, computer stuff, badging, and decals?
Yep, so we can assist with that, and we can build some of that into the monthly lease payment, but we will work with the city to identify what you want done to the vehicles, and we also have vendors that we work with that have the best possible price as well as the best lead times, and we can help you with that. But ultimately, it's your decision on what you guys do to the vehicles.
Thank you, Councilman Valentine. Council, any other questions?
When it comes to the term of the lease and the, call it the termination of the lease.
Yep.
The residual value on that, if that vehicle isn't in the condition to capitalize on that residual value, does the city pay the difference?
Yes.
Okay.
Enterprise, and I've been doing this for 5 years in the municipal space. Enterprise is a very conservative company, so when we determine the book value at the beginning, the residual value, we will put that in a very conservative spot so that when a police car comes back with dings and dents, or a DPW truck has taken a little bit of a beating, we forecast that into the book value so we know how much that vehicle's worth and what it's gonna sell for.
So it's, I'm assuming you're establishing a lesser standard than if you took a F-150 back to Ford Motor Company as a citizen.
Yeah, so if you're talking in regards to the actual value, what Enterprise is going to sell a vehicle for, we sell vehicles for 15% over black book value. So Enterprise is the #1 reseller of vehicles in the country. So our team that sells our Enterprise rent-a-cars, to reference back to your first question, Enterprise rent-a-car, all of the vehicles for the city of Gibraltar and Brownstown and Lincoln Park and Trenton, all of the vehicles that we're selling at that given point in time go into one pool of vehicles. So we sell a city of Gibraltar 10-year-old truck the same way we're going to sell a 2-year-old Enterprise rent-a-car. So the benefit to you guys is the people that are selling those vehicles don't know if it's a Gibraltar car or an Enterprise car. They're trying to get the highest possible dollar amount because that's what they get paid to do.
So what about the cars that we have now? How would that work into that?
Yep, so we essentially phase them out into Enterprise fleet vehicles. So, for example, and the analysis is just a recommendation. The city is able to do whatever the city deems best. But in the recommendation, we were able to replace 10 vehicles, sell your oldest 10 vehicles for $122,000, take that $122,000 and put them into your new cars. So you're actually paying less than you were to replace 1 or 2 vehicles.
Now, some of our, I think a couple of our vehicles were purchased through ARPA funds. can we sell them? I don't know what the restrictions are for ARPA
So we can
funds.
sell them for you and provide you guys the funds back, and then you have to determine what you do with the funds on your end.
The ARPA fund
Mm-hmm.
vehicles.
I have one more. Now, at the end of lease, the city, you take the vehicle, the city will not get any money from that, right?
The city gets all of the equity. So I'll give you an easy math example that I use for most of my prospective clients. If the vehicle costs $50,000, Enterprise is going to find a residual value that we deem as very conservative and comfortable for both the city and Enterprise to take on that risk. So in the example I always use is $10,000. If Enterprise knows we're going to sell a vehicle in 4 years or 5 years and 50,000 miles or 100,000 miles, whatever we deem to be that term, if we know we're going to sell it for $15,000, then we're not going to have you finance a vehicle from $50,000 to zero, because we can actually put a book value in there. So you finance it to $10,000. When Enterprise goes and sells it for 15, the city gets that difference of 15 and 10, which is your equity that goes back to the city. So most of my clients will take that $5,000, put it down on the next car as like a down payment, and that's how Enterprise makes vehicles cheaper going forward. Whereas the chief knows every year he gets a new car, that vehicle is $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 more. Enterprise is able to actually lower the cost of new vehicles by leveraging the equity that you have in your fleet today.
And so I'm clear, because I checked with a couple other chiefs. The equity can also be used towards like a build of another car if you want.
Absolutely.
Or it can be used to make current payments if you
Or a
want.
pizza party, if that's what you
Oh,
guys
we're
want
not
to
going to do
Yeah.
that.
So during this time, we're liable for all service. The service on the vehicle.
Yes,
oil
yep.
change there. So let's just say we have this vehicle and we're into it 6 months and the transmission goes out. Does happen.
Yep.
We're liable for that,
Just as you would be today with your current fleet.
anything we have.
Yep.
But that would be a warranty issue.
Yeah, so that specific example would be covered under warranty.
But if you exceed the miles, then it becomes our
Right,
problem.
which you guys wouldn't really cover those miles. If you look at your fleet today, most of the vehicles are under the mileage of warranty after being 10 years old, so.
Is
Great
the
question.
city- Is the city self-insured?
You want to comment on that?
No.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
The insurance piece, I know that question always does come up. One, what we find with insurance specifically is the rates actually, people always ask, well, if I'm getting newer cars, then our rates are going to go up because the cars are newer and they cost more, but it actually is typically offset because of the driver safety things that are on new cars versus old cars, right? If you have a 2014 that doesn't have backup camera and a new 2024 does, then that kind of offsets the difference.
I mean, it was a very minor incident, but like today, we had a DPW truck back into a fence on our own property, thank goodness, but a backup camera and a sensor might have alerted them that there was something behind them.
A lot of the backup cameras will actually force brake that car, so it wouldn't have ever hit the fence. And I know from experience it's happened to me.
Appreciate that. Amy, do you want to come up to the podium or come to a mic so people can hear you?
No, I was just going to comment on the ARPA question. It wouldn't be the ARPA funds that we would have to worry about. It would be the community block grant ones. Those would have to go back in the community block grant.
Okay.
And then Amy, while you're up there, if you don't mind just saying, what's your perspective on this from a financial director point of view?
I could go either way, if I'm being honest. I can see the definite benefits, so.
Appreciate that.
We don't, I mean, right now, when we buy a vehicle, we don't finance it, right? We don't have a need to finance them.
Yeah, so if you, just kind of referencing back to the example of the chief's one vehicle, now I get this is one of the 20 vehicles that are in the fleet. But the reason, and this is just from my understanding of conversations in the past with many of you up there today, the reason that the vehicle fleet is so aged is because of that exact reason, right? There's not funds in the budget to replace the amount of vehicles that need to actually be replaced every single year. So for that reason, that's why the average age of the current fleet is north of 10 years old, is because there's just not money in the budget to replace the vehicles that need to be replaced. And that's why this partnership makes so much sense, because Enterprise provides a funding mechanism to be able to replace the amount of vehicles that should be replaced. Now, that's not saying you're going to get 20 new vehicles every year. It's going to be a 4 or 5, maybe 6-year rotation, but ultimately that's 5 or 6 years sooner than you guys are doing them today. So the benefits that come along with that is increased resale of your existing fleet, capitalizing on the equity in your vehicles, lower maintenance expenses, more fuel-efficient vehicles, and better driver safety for your employees.
What's the minimum amount of time that we'd have to sign a contract with you for?
So there is no contract. We have a master lease agreement, which is our master terms. In that contract, there is no set minimum of partnership. Each individual vehicle that the city signs for is its own contract. So for example, if the chief moves forward with a police Tahoe and it's over 48 months, then that is his term for that vehicle. However, there's no early out clause, so if at 12 months the chief says, I don't want to do this anymore, he can issue Enterprise a check for the remaining book value of that vehicle and be out of it completely.
Chief, can you speak to any discussions you've had with Trenton, Brownstown, or any other police chiefs or supervisors?
Yeah, most of the departments I've spoke with are all new into the program. They're all super excited and happy about it. I think the best person to speak on this would be Vince, who's had it at Monroe. You know, I think this, you know, the chiefs are happy. They're getting newer vehicles. They're, you know, the biggest problem is a lot of departments, and this is just everywhere. Everybody wants the police Tahoe. They think that's the best vehicle, and it's almost impossible to get right now. The one I found, you'll see in the packet later, I didn't get a chance to call today because I had a few things come up in my office, but he wanted, the Berger Chevrolet wanted me to call today to see if it was even still available, because last year he promised he'd hold it to me to a council meeting. This year he said, I can't make that promise. So, and that was last Thursday when I talked to him before I left town. But Vince, do you have anything?
Sure. You know, when I was in Monroe, we were, I will tell you, initially very, very skeptical. Just, you know, again, being somewhat different. But we were there for probably about 5 years, because I think it was pre-COVID when we first signed our agreement. And I will tell you, there's a lot of times where we actually, you know, through Enterprise, actually sold vehicles for more than what we paid for. Again, we have a very, as a government, we have got some very competitive advantage in the purchase price. And so the conservative aspect of, you know, the residual value is true, and we've, you know, benefited from that as well. I think one of the other things that I've found very helpful is that, and for example, when we were replacing our DPW vehicles, and we had, you know, our own inspection department, you know, we were going to Colorado pickups, and basically the meeting that we had with our representative that, you know, you should probably think about turning these over every year, because the resale value in new low mileage trucks is pretty amazing. And so the only cost that we incur is, you know, for those vehicles is the decals with the city logo on it and what have you. Police is a little different, because they're going to probably put anywhere from $10,000, $12,000, $13,000 into getting them ready for the road with all of the equipment. But you know, we had a good experience, and what happens is you sell off your old fleet, and I know the question came up, is that we had a schedule of how many we were going to replace over a 5-year period, and then once you get to the 5-year period, things start leveling out. You're not going to see the windfall with emptying out your older fleet. But you do get the benefit of having a record of, you know, fuel usage, what kind of impact that is, any of the maintenance. We decided down there to utilize, we had a couple mechanics, and so they handled all of the details of making sure of inputting what was maintained with the vehicle, so that their folks had a record of what it was there. And then also the aspect of it is the information you get. I remember related to one of my department heads where I says, well, the information we're getting is you come into the corners kind of hot. Yeah, you know, you get that level of detail about the usage of the vehicles themselves. So, you know, you know, we kind of laughed about it. He's the last guy you thought would drive a little fast, but did mention it to him. That was one of the things that came up there. So there is a lot of value. I found there to be value, and I know that, again, my finance director is about as conservative as they get down there, and he's been a big proponent of it as well, so.
Is Monroe still using Enterprise?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Any downside we should be aware of? I too was skeptical from the second we first sat down, right? I mean, if you look at the synopsis, it's 404,000, 10 years savings, it's better fleet, newer, lower maintenance costs, better fuel efficiency, addressing all the outdated aspects of our current fleet. So like, what's the downside, Vince? Would you all
The
navigate?
downside is where's the savings long-term? I think we got through the first 4 years and it was pretty darn good, but you could see it flattening out. Then it just finds what's the value of the information that you have. And again, part of it is the resale. We found that to be of value and just the information that goes along with the detail of the program with the vehicles. But, it does slow down in the out years, but, Monroe is still with them and it's going on over 5 years now.
Go ahead.
Now, it's our responsibility to let you guys know when we do the oil changes and how much gas we put in and stuff like that?
Yeah, so there's a couple different options on that. And it's completely up to the city on how you guys want to go about that. We have a maintenance program that majority of, I would say probably 85% of our clients utilize, but that would be outsourced vendors within the city, so local shops that the city utilizes. Enterprise actually tracks those, so your team doesn't have to do that. So when a vehicle goes to a shop, that shop is on our program, so when they input the repairs, it comes into our client website. So the chief or whoever needs to access that will actually have record of all of that on the internet, and we handle all that for you. Now, if repairs are getting done internally within the city from a internal mechanic, then yes, that would need to be self-reported, but other than that, Enterprise handles everything.
Council, any other questions, comments, feedback to the discussion so far?
I'm going to make the motion that we agree with Enterprise Fleet Management Services to provide fleet management for our police, fire, DPW, and city vehicles. Do you also do ambulances?
We're working on that. That's been a work in progress for about 2 years. The Enterprise can't get past the insurance and liability piece at the moment, but we're working on that.
Okay, that's my motion, that we go ahead and do this.
We have a motion on the floor to pursue partnership with Enterprise Fleet Management. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wood. Can we open it up for discussion, council?
Are there any other companies that we can deal with other than just Enterprise? I mean, is this it?
Yeah, Chief,
I mean,
Vince,
aren't
you
we gonna
want
go
to speak
for-
to any other companies or optionalities in this lane of thinking? If we are aware.
I've had no
I'm not
other-
aware of anybody else that has approached us in the past. There may be other vendors out there, but I think they've been the most aggressive at going after the municipal fleet management.
The municipal side, the municipal piece, law enforcement piece is probably, Evan, can you speak to that? Is there?
Yeah, so when you look at, if you look at the Sourcewell contract, the only other people that really took bid in that is dealerships. Like in Enterprise is number one for fleet management. The other dealerships are outside of the state of Michigan, which you guys wouldn't be able to utilize for vehicles anyways through MyDeal, if you were to purchase through MyDeal. So that kind of takes care of that. One thing I will address too that I wanted to talk about earlier, but I didn't want to interrupt, is an added benefit to the Enterprise program is, and I'll use City of Trenton as an example, is you had mentioned the chief wanted Tahoes and he couldn't get Tahoes. We were actually able to go to Atlanta. So we're not restricted to just Berger Chevy or a Ford dealer for vehicle acquisition. We actually went to Atlanta, Georgia, and found him some police interceptors for $3,000 less than what Signature Ford was using here locally in Michigan. So we're able to use any dealership across the country if that's what we find necessary. Now, typically, we try to stick with the Bergers because the MyDeal price is very competitive, but there's always the option to go outside of that as well.
Helpful.
Do you have to pay into the cooperative MyDeal in order to be able to participate and offer these to communities?
So Sourcewell, I'm not 100% positive. MyDeal, we actually just piggyback off the price. So we just match the price of the MyDeal's price.
So there are other options out there. I'm looking at an email that I got pricing from 3 different vendors 5 years ago on a handful of fleet vehicles. So there are other companies that do this, small businesses throughout southeastern Michigan. When I went through this 5 years ago, Enterprise and 2 other vendors were available, and So to answer that question, there are other vendors.
The vendors, and that's on the pricing comparability. What about the other elements of the service? Do they do the same kind of?
Yeah, the
Okay.
whole fleet leasing program.
Okay.
Correct. I'm sure there's nuances that are different between enterprises. They each have their marketing
100%.
employee that they probably pursue a little heavier than the others.
That's helpful. One question I would have on, so align with the motion that was made and seconded. What would next steps look like, and who would be in command of this partnership?
So obviously, next steps would be if we agree to the proposal, we choose Enterprise, we would start working with them, sign the appropriate contracts, and work on our first vehicle purchase. And if you, in the packet, you'll see menu pricing. This was, we started this over almost a year ago. And Chief Kane gave me his need list. I put it in the packet, how soon he needs some of these things, what vehicles we would start to sell. I think I have a good needs list for sure. I mean, we only have we budget one police car every 2 years. Amy's pretty tight to that. Well, I have a detective car that's a 2012. It's not doing its best. So, getting a couple extra cars this year would be very beneficial. So that would be sit down with them, get our best pricing on what we can do, what we can sell. I'd love him to drive off with that bus that's out there if it's still here today, but.
I'll come back and get it.
But I would love to see that go and get to sale as soon as possible. That thing's been here for a year, maybe, and we haven't got it into an auction yet.
Do we finance other items in the city?
Amy, can you speak to the question was, do we finance other items in the city?
We haven't since I've been here, but we have in the past.
For those that can't hear the mic, since Amy's sitting, we haven't since Amy has been here, but we have prior to that.
Something that I want to reiterate too is a question that came up about the contract. Something to keep in mind is if this is something that the city doesn't see working in 12, 18, 24 months, there is no long-term contract like a lot of people have where it says this partnership needs to take place for 5 years. All that you guys are responsible for is the value of that vehicle at that specific time.
So I have a question, obviously, now that we're talking. Is it okay if I asked?
Yes, please.
Okay. So if we went with 2 cars right now, just using your menu pricing, I said I want that police Tahoe and the Bronco you listed in there. Looking at your menu pricing, where would I be? Can you? So you got me the Tahoe, I mean.
So I just was looking today, and this is just rough. I was doing rough math for your $70,000 vehicle. If the Tahoe was costing you $1,300 a month, basically you would be able to purchase 5 of those, more than 5 of those vehicles for your $70,000 budget. So a Bronco, I don't have the My Deal price right in front of me, but assuming it's probably right around $500 a month, you'd be at less than $2,000 a month for 2 vehicles.
So I think the Bronco's on this menu pricing list that you gave me at one point.
Yeah, I don't have that.
Okay, sorry,
pulled
and
up.
it was at like 6,000 for a year.
For a year, yep,
And then the Tahoe's at like 15 for a year.
yep.
So if we did this agreement and we agreed to 21,000 for the first year for those 2 vehicles, and then we decide we didn't want to do this agreement anymore and canceled, we would only owe you what's left on those agreements, right?
The book value of the vehicle itself, so not the lease payment. So it's more so the cost of the vehicle. So if your Tahoe costs $55,000 before upfit, and that's what we were financing, and in the first year you paid off $7,000 of that, you would owe that $48,000 difference. Or the other option, which we've run into this in non-municipal spaces, you continue to pay off that lease, but you don't have to do any more, like the partnership's basically washed because you don't have to do any more vehicles through Enterprise.
And I have one more tough question.
Okay.
Save the tough for last. Any communities that you've partnered with recently that have done what I just said, signed with you and then just dropped out within a year or 2?
If you say in the last 5 years, there's not one. Our retention over the last 10 years is 95%, which means we've probably lost 1 client over the last 10 years. And a big part of that, I would say, is just due to the COVID restrictions and restraints on vehicles. If people think that Enterprise is the one that actually builds the vehicles, whereas we're just going to the manufacturers to secure them. So if GM can't make a vehicle, it's not Enterprise's fault, that's GM's fault. And I feel like a lot of people kind of come back to Enterprise on that. So that's, I think we've lost one client over the last 10 years.
I got one more.
I knew which one you're coming with. Let's see if it's the same as mine. Go ahead.
What is the interest rate that you're proposing on this?
So the Sourcewell contract actually has a locked-in interest rate. However, one thing I want to note is municipalities aren't able to piggyback off of two buying cooperatives, so you can either use Sourcewell or you can use MyDeal. The MyDeal one, we use the U.S. Treasury bill plus 300 basis points. So the three-year T-bill, whatever that's at, it fluctuates every week. So we'd do the T-bill plus 300 basis points.
For those of us that aren't that bright.
So I would say, like, for example, and I'm just trying to think of vehicles that I've quoted over the last week, probably 7.5%, right around there. And then Sourcewell has a locked-in interest rate component that is factored in. What I always advise is purchase through MyDeal because you get the money off on the purchase of the vehicle, not on Enterprise's pricing plan of that. So I always advise going with MyDeal if it's an option. Sourcewell is an alternative, and that has a locked-in interest rate. I think it's 6.5% or something like that.
Does that interest rate differ based on the amount? Like if you look at a residual value and say that you think it's going to be $15,000 at the end of 5 years, and we say, let's lower our payment and make it $25,000.
Sure.
Do you adjust the interest rate?
Interest rate's locked in at the time of delivery. So if the vehicle delivers in a month, whatever the interest rate is at that moment, it's locked in for the next however long you guys finance that vehicle. So it doesn't matter on the price. So our goal is to make sure that at the end of the term, for example, this police Tahoe, at 48 months, we don't want to come back to the chief and tell him, hey, you owe us $5,000. So we always determine that book value on a position that we know that vehicle is going to sell for more. So if it's not necessarily debate, I guess, like up for debate in terms of what we determine that price to be, because we try to cover your guys' back so that we're not coming to you for a paycheck at the end.
Go ahead, Mr. Fitz.
Yeah, I have a question for you. $4,000 into a $95,000 vehicle. That's where we're at right now, right?
95,000 miles.
95,000 miles, right? How many vehicles are we aged similar to that?
4.
4.
Yeah, we just did the same repair on another one that hit around the same miles. It's a common repair on that vehicle.
Yeah, it is. And
Yeah.
so I guess my question for everyone here is, if you had a fleet program in-house, you can establish a lot of these parameters of when to get rid of your fleet. We don't, and chances are we won't. So I have pros and cons on either way here because I've experienced both ways. But the trick bag is exactly where we're at today. We're putting $4,000 plus into a 95,000 mile vehicle. And that doesn't guarantee that you're not going to walk out the door tomorrow with something else with the transmission. So that's the caution right now.
Agreed, and if you look at the summary, 6 vehicles predate anti-lock brake, 2007, 6 vehicles predate electronic stability control, 2012, and 17 vehicles predate backup cameras, 2018. We have some old fleet vehicles.
So where Enterprise would step in that specific example, because we manage 2 million vehicles, right? Like he just mentioned, it's happened on 2 of your vehicles. We have 2 million of these vehicles in our fleet. So Enterprise, not myself, but one of my coworkers would be meeting with the city 4 times a year, and we're identifying that, hey, chief, this Tahoe at roughly 85 to 95,000 miles is experiencing this $4,000 repair. We suggest putting your new 2025 or 2026 Tahoe on order from the dealer now, so that when it gets here, we'll take that old one and we'll sell it, and we'll make your guys' problem somebody else's problem.
Appreciate that. We
You're
probably
welcome.
want that.
So for Amy, doesn't this make a little more sense because you're not financing down as much money for one vehicle? Yeah.
So we get the 5 vehicles, hit all 5 vehicles.
Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of good things. I'm not going to step into the purchasing policy or if we should get other quotes, but I just know that for a fleet that's unmanaged, we've always found ourselves with high mileage vehicles, and I'm not saying the city, but in my prior life, found ourselves with high mileage vehicles paying exorbitant maintenance fees, and it never ends until you put a stop to it. And the stop is you either sell the vehicle and get another one. And if you're trying to establish criteria for a managed and a fleet that's uniform, it's hard to do when you're buying one vehicle at a time and you don't have a source to buy in bulk unless you're going to do that yourself. So again, not to support any purchasing issue here or the ability to get a competitive price somewhere else. That's some of the pitfalls you find yourself into.
Yeah, but is that part of our charters? We have to get 3 bids?
That's what the Sourcewell contract kind of takes care of, is Enterprises, that's already been bid out, and Enterprise was the Sourcewell awarded. So if you guys utilize Sourcewell within the city, then you're able to leverage that awarded contract so that you don't have to do the bidding.
Any other discussion, questions, comments?
My one last question for Mr. Tangway, and that is, for this resolution that is being proposed, or the action that's being proposed, would we have to come back, would it come back to council every time there was another vehicle that you wanted to add to it? So the way that I read the proposed motion is to agree with them for all fleet management. So on the initial one, you have one Tahoe.
Oh, sorry. You're all right.
And there's a list of vehicles there's a list of vehicles to get rid of, and then some future needs, prospective future needs. Would we be coming back to council every time one of those vehicles either?
Great question, and I thought about how I would handle that, because it does have the, first off, we have to surplus vehicles anyways through council approval. So any vehicle we're surplusing, we'd have to get council approval, which would just be, I'm sure I'd have a target date well ahead of time, so I'd come and say, hey, we're going to surplus this vehicle, and probably at that date, I would come to council and say, since we're surplusing this one, we're requesting to purchase this one using Enterprise. It would avoid bidding, calling, chasing cars down. It'd be like an open agreement, but I still think the checks and balances would be, whoever the department head is or whoever we're doing it comes, makes the request to surplus, makes the request to purchase, probably at the same time. That would be that would be the way I would follow it.
Okay.
And that goes back to the other question I had, which is that you, as city administrator, during the course of that, would be the point for that communication that would then subsequently come under the direction of council.
Yeah, I'd like to see the department heads, come and say, hey, this is what we're working with, this is what we're dealing with, and we sit down, we come up with something to bring here. Obviously, I think the new way we're going, it would be very simple for me to make that proposal here, and move things along a little faster. I think, I've talked to Evan several times. I've talked to to see some of the other police departments start to do this. Everybody's doing it because the prices went through the roof. I was buying police cars like this same vehicle. I think we paid $24,000 for like 3 years ago, it seems like, and now it's almost sits in the aftermarket. So I think it gives the ability to get a better fleet. I like the fact that, and I did send the contracts to Anthony for review, and I'm sure he's seen them before. I like, that when they mentioned that we have an out. I think that's very important. If we don't like something, we immediately can just step away. It's almost like a buy it and try it kind of program, and I would be a little bit, if we didn't have that, I'd probably be a little worried, but I think that's appropriate, and maybe Anthony can speak on reading that.
Yeah, so this is not the first time I've seen this contract. I reviewed it in other municipalities I represent as well. And it's consistent with those municipalities, and I approved it for those municipalities at the, obviously, direction of council, wanting me to review the contract. But, yeah, it's a pretty straightforward. It's a more or less what I consider a financing agreement of the fleets. And it's, as explained, if you want to get out of the vehicle, you can get out of the vehicle. So.
Great discussion. I really appreciate the presentation. Any other comments?
The only thing, if I would just add to Councilmember Molnar's question is, yeah, I think Mr. Tangay, would probably bring that to you each and every time there is a new vehicle that you're looking at. I know that when I was in Monroe, after the first year, it was just myself and the finance director that handled it because the council was comfortable enough with it. But I do think, given, it's a smaller community here, and I think, council is still probably very interested in what that looks like. And I think, just echoing the chief, or Mr. Tangay, the administrator's comment, that probably the best approach is just to keep bringing them back to council in the future for.
I like it. Any other comments, questions? All right, well, we have a motion that's been seconded. A great discussion. Thank you for being here for the presentation. Katie, can you please call roll?
McNabb.
Yes.
Mulner.
Yes.
Schumate.
Yes.
Valentine.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Cox.
Yes.
Cosmore.
Yes.
That motion is carried. We look forward to our partnership, and our city administrator/chief will be in touch on next steps.
Thank you all for having me.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion to surplus a vehicle?
All right, that will close the presentations section of our agenda, and will move us to our consent agenda. Council, in front of you and in your packets, you'll see items A through F. Item A, bills reference number 2. Item B, payroll number 898 and 899. Item C, city council minutes of 7/8/2024. Item D, special council minutes of 7/8/2024. Item E, waterways commission minutes of 5/9/2024. And item F, waterways commission minutes of 6/16/2024. Is there a motion to approve consent agenda this evening?
Motion to approve consent agenda.
Motion by Wood, is there a second?
Second.
Great. Any discussion on the consent agenda? Katie, please call roll.
Mulner.
Yes.
Schumate.
Yes.
Valentine.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Cox.
Yes.
Cosmore.
Yes.
McNabb.
Yes.
Motion carried. That would turn us over to our communications, which there's no communications to receive or file this evening, which brings us to my report this evening. Council, in your packet, I'll turn you to the memo that highlights some of the background information, and I'll go one by one. The first item is going to be Stevens Disposal and Recycling Services. We had a meeting at 10 a.m. on July 11th with Stevens Disposal, and the goal was to align on the plan for onboarding them to the city of Gibraltar following the expiration of our existing agreement with Priority. I want to give a very special shout out to Chelsea Brad. Amongst everything else she's done for the operation, she assembled this presentation, and council, I included that in your packet. The goal of the presentation is to provide a overview of Stevens Waste Disposal, the specifics of our partnership, including nude can delivery, which will be taking place to every resident home August 26th, the week of, I should say. So that's one of the important notes. It will talk about the pickup day of Wednesday. It will talk about all the different specifics around the waste and recycling approaches. It addresses yard waste and bulk items. It talks about what to do in the event of a damaged can or an extra can required. It provides contacts on questions and details all the acceptable materials. The goal of this presentation is the new cans from Stevens will be delivered to the households, as I mentioned, 26th and beyond of August. When they're delivered, there'll be a hanging tag on the can, and that tag will have a QR code. Not only will it highlight some high-level information, but it will also have a QR code of this presentation so that every resident can look through and understand the impact to them as it relates to their household. And then Katie and team will work to take this presentation and any other links and make sure that that's on our website and any other applicable social digital channels. So I'll stop there. Council department heads, any feedback on our transition to Stevens and the associated education of our community?
I did have a couple of people ask me about the blue cans, because I
Yeah.
know here it said they could keep, they can keep them, but they wanted to know if they could use those for yard waste, and I don't know if they were too big for them to use it for yard waste.
Let's take that as a follow-up. So to answer your question, the new cans will be a different color. You can see they're captured in the presentation. They're a brown color. So that's number one. Number two is the blue cans can be kept by the household. As far as what they can be used for, let's take that as an action, unless anybody can speak to that intelligently right now. And then if for folks that want to get rid of their blue existing cans, there will be communication on how to do so. Katie, anybody else have anything to add there?
I think he said the blue cans can be used for an extra garbage can.
But yard waste, I'm not sure, because they have to pick them up and, yeah.
That's what my thought was, but I know I wanted to answer it correctly, because I didn't know, because I know he had said that you had to put, yard waste on the regular garbage can, but.
I asked that question specifically, and I cannot remember what he said, because there's been about 10 meetings since then.
It's a great call, though, Marcia, and we'll make sure that's updated on the presentation to the extent it's not already captured.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments for the transition? I think this will be a great way to get ahead of the communication, and then when a resident sees a new brown can that's dropped off to their home, they'll have a little hanging tote that allows them to get access to the presentation, all the information. Great. Next topic is Riverview Landfill Meeting. I want to thank Jeff, who's the Sales and Marketing Manager for Riverview Land Preserve, and Kevin, who's the Director of Solid Waste for Riverview Land Preserve. They came to City Hall for a meeting at 11 a.m. on July 16th. Councilman Cox was there, in addition to relevant department heads. They basically provided a presentation regarding the Riverview Land Preserve and some of the financial considerations if it were to close. As many of you might be well aware that have been paying attention to this land preserve or landfill, they've previously attempted to pursue an expansion, but obviously with any landfill, there's a capacity trajectory, and that capacity trajectory will fill up, and there could be a potential closure if expansion is not a successful endeavor. So that has financial impacts to any city who currently takes their waste there. And so why I'm putting this in your report this evening and why I'm flagging it to you is because we've asked Jeff and Kevin, the mentioned parties from Riverview Land Preserve, to come to council on August 12th to present to council all the specifics around how they see the current state, how they're planning for the future, and what Gibraltar should be considering along that pathway. So Councilman Cox, anything to add to that? I know you probably have more knowledge than I do in that landscape of history.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. They're going to bring a presentation based on if the expansion doesn't happen and what costs would be, we could get impacted with in the future. So I'm trying to prepare us if the expansion doesn't go through, for what our future costs are going to be.
Yeah, well said. And just for kind of timeline, 2032 is the forecasted potential closure if expansion was not a successful endeavor. So while it may seem far away, that's got significant financial implications to any city involved. And so I thought first step would be a nice education to council and our community, which will happen on the 12th. Katie, thanks for coordinating that. And then we can continue to plan and discuss from there. Any further comments, questions on Riverview?
Is that where Stevens is going to take our waste?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Councilman Cox, you want to comment on any of the specifics there?
No, our contract is to deliver waste to the Riverview landfill. That's the way we set up our proposals with our waste disposals. So our costs are reflected in delivering those materials to that location. If you start going outside of that to other landfills, you're going to incur much larger costs than just the transport of the rubbish.
That's great. Thank you. Next topic on my update today is the resident survey. Really proud to say that even at the time of this council packet, we had 253 responses, and that was as of 11 a.m. on July 17th. That response number continues to increase. As we discussed, we have our survey open until the end of August. Beyond the communication channels that have been leveraged so far, which includes social, Facebook, we have hard copy QR codes sitting at the desk for which our City Hall staff mentions any residents. We have flyers posted at relevant locations and city events. We have businesses locally who have supported the posting of that. We have residents that have volunteered to go door to door, which we'll use to target certain demographics. Council, what we took a look at was, thanks to Mary and City Hall, had assembled a list of addresses related to taxation, those that did not receive the tax bill due to escrow considerations. So that would be a great target list. If you recall, we included a QR code in the tax bill dissemination, so door to door might be advantageous to consider to reach those households that did not get a tax bill. In that scenario, I feel very good about our numbers and our trajectory. I love the design of the questions, and I'll just keep updating you at council meetings. And then as we approach August 26th, our last council meeting in August, we can make a decision that we're aligned to close the survey after we've deployed all dissemination methods. But any questions, comments on resident survey? Okay, great. Last item, council, for my session today will be COAM and POAM For those that don't recognize those acronyms, it's command and patrol related to our union representatives. The ongoing discussions with the union representatives related to the contracts. Just to kind of recap, we had a discussion with council on July 8th. A meeting was held with those union representatives on July 11th. Councilman Valentine has been close to all these discussions as endorsed by council. I'm just going to plant the seed with you. I'm requesting a motion, council, this evening to enter a closed session following our planned agenda. There's some items that we'd like to review with you this evening with a motion for closed session so that we can finalize our alignment as council to focus on getting our contracts done with both union representatives. Any questions on that? And if not, we'll remind you of that later in today's meeting. Any other questions, comments for me? All right, council reports. Councilman Valentine talks about recreation.
I know that there's a new band coming for the next Music in the Park, and Tammy sent it to me, but I lost it somewhere, so that's all I have.
Thank you, Councilman Valentine. Any questions for Councilman Valentine? Councilwoman Cosmore, you got quite the list, and you have one proposal, so we'll let you have the floor.
Okay, as far as the Alliance of Downriver Watershed, the photo contest is still going on to the end of August, so just check out the website for that. I have a meeting for the 33rd District Court on the 30th, so I'll have a report after that. And the Rotary, we have the kayak lot coming up soon, so we still have tickets, duck tickets, and we still have sportsman's gift card raffle tickets, so please contact a Rotary member or City Hall or the gas station has tickets, because that fund goes to support the things we do in the community. And for Kiwanis, we will be working with the city next month at our movie night for the kids. And we also are selling raffle tickets for the Michigan Foundation, Kiwanis Michigan Foundation. And that money goes, we support programs at the like children's hospitals and stuff, and that's what that money goes for. And that's all I have for that. And then the discussion is from the basketball court from when the Rotary was here at our last meeting. And we'd really liked, I'd like to see like a motion to approve it before they start working on getting the pricing, because they're going to price out the poles, they're going to have to price out the basketball nets, all the different aspects of it. So I wasn't quite sure how we needed to go about that, so they could get going on that, because I do know, personally, I think we've needed it for a while. So I'd like to get going as soon as we can. So I don't know how we go about that, what our next step should be.
I love it. So the basketball court, if you recall from the last meeting, was presented by Rotary. Rotary was going to volunteer to pay for said
Yeah, they're going to pay for,
improvements.
yeah.
So maybe city attorney, not to put you on the spot, but to put you on the spot, is there any considerations around Rotary funding through the process of council motioning to endorse the path, the investigation of how they would improve the basketball court?
Yeah, we would need more details of exactly what they want to do to the basketball court. So you could make a motion approving taking the next steps in them possibly doing the project, but we would need details related to the project, even though they're funding it still our property, so we would need.
Did you need to go like to the planning commission for that or anything? I wasn't sure.
It all depends on what they want to do. And so that's why it'd be best if they submit formal details of what their intentions are. If it's just a repaving project and putting up new hoops, obviously it's not going to be too much, but
Yeah.
we still need more details on what they would like to do.
Yeah, because I know they're supposed to be reusing the what's paved.
Sorry, I'm just remembering from my recollection from last meeting, I thought really what they were asking for was permission from us to use that particular location of the park. And once we gave that permission, then they would proceed with getting those details. And so that's what I recall.
Yeah, that's similar to what I recall from last meeting, but now I'm hearing a little different, so I guess we just need more clarity on what exactly their intentions are and what they want to do.
And then would that, so let's say council motion to endorse them coming back with a proposal, would that proposal come back to council or to planning and DDA, or is that specifically dependent on what that proposal entails?
It all depends on what they want to do. If there's some construction aspect that they want to do, then it would be planning. If it's the use of just the basketball court for a purpose, then come to council.
So what I might suggest is, Councilwoman Cosmore, if council wanted to do a motion to have Rotary assemble a proposal that includes location and general plan. Maybe that would be something that our new city administrator could work with them to assemble, and then once we know the specifics of that assembly, we can decide where it needs to go, planning, DDA, or council.
And they could submit that informally, so we can give them guidance of where they need to go. They don't have to wait till the next council meeting to submit and then have us tell them what they need to do. If they want to submit it, then we can say, here's your avenue to pursue what you want to do.
We'd much rather it come in and then send it, have other people look at it and tell them, than have them come here and send them in the circle to come back with, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So motion would be in council's order if seen to be fit.
Yeah, are we looking for that motion here now?
think we should,
Oh,
yeah.
I'm happy to make that motion.
I'll second it.
Katie, do you want to read what you may have?
I don't have anything written yet.
Here, I'll give my best shot
Yes.
and look for some help. But I make the motion to ask Rotary to submit a proposal to council for renovating a portion of the park to include a basketball court.
Beautifully done.
Second.
And I hear a second from Valen.
Seconded, yeah.
Okay.
Cosmo.
Oh, Cosmo's got it. Second.
Okay, got it.
All right, great. Thank you for the guidance on that, and we will await said proposal pending roll call being successful.
Sorry, in terms of discussion, I know that Tammy had sent over some information, and obviously anything that once we go through the plan approval process, we'll have to take into consideration some mechanisms to make sure it's an orderly process there. I don't know if I said, if you want to chime in on that.
I just think we need cameras back there.
Okay.
So you'd like that added in when they do the proposal?
So part of the plan review, we can work with them on creating something.
From what I understand, they just want to put in nets and lines and maybe a bench. There's already the spot for it to be. They just want to measure it out and put legal nets and legal markings.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, the new poles, the bed and things, yeah.
Love it. Any other discussion? All right. Katie, can you please call roll?
Schumate?
Yes.
Valentine?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Hex?
Yes.
Cosmore?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Mulnar?
Yes.
Great. Motion carried. Rotary, thank you so much again for assembling said proposal. Councilwoman Cosmore, thanks for representing that. Any questions for Councilwoman Cosmore? Councilwoman Wood, talk to us about beautification, historical museum, and goatscaping.
Okay, just a couple things tonight on our reports. The Beautification Commission, of course, is still weeding and watering. That just continues now until fall. So it'll be the same report probably next few weeks. The Historical Museum was not open yesterday, but we had guests, and it's so nice to see people just show up and call to see if they can come in. And I was pretty happy with that. So, you know, people are actually learning that we do have a museum after 12 years. So, you know, we're getting there. And
Congratulations.
so my last item is, of course, my goatscaping project. And I just wanted to bring that up, and I think Vince were you going to have a resolution or?
You know, based on the last meeting, I just drafted a resolution if council is inclined to accept it, you know, what the terms, conditions might look like if you were to enter into a, you know, very brief service agreement for it. But essentially, they're responsible for, you know, putting up the, you know, low voltage fence, the signage that goes along with it, along with maintaining and monitoring you know, the activity there to the extent they do, and that basically the city's not gonna be responsible for much of anything, and if you want them to leave, you tell them to leave, and so, it's very simple, straightforward, probably should be a little more detailed, but it gets, you know, the general sense of what it would look like, so.
Well, I think I've given some of the detail in a few, you know, past meetings about how they're setting it up, how it's being used, the cost of it, the liabilities. I know that our attorney had asked for that information. So I'm hoping that everything I needed has been turned in, and I'm just hoping we can go forward with that.
This is great. So council motion would be in order. Only thing, Dorothy, sorry if it's already stated, remind me the dates for which you were targeting. Do you have an approximate?
It's going to be probably the end of August, beginning of September. I didn't set up any dates until I find out I can do it, so.
Okay. And attorneys had a chance to take a look.
Yes, so the only thing I would say is if council decides to pass this resolution, that I would request that Mike Moore from Twin Willow Ranch sign a simple acknowledgement that he is accepting the resolution as a part of his terms of service.
Okay. So council, motion would be in your court related to the resolution included in your packet.
What?
You can make the motion.
I was going to say, do I make the motion
Yeah,
to do that?
absolutely.
Okay, I make a motion for the goatscaping.
So motion with goatscaping conditional on Mike
Mike
acknowledging
Moore's.
resolution.
Yeah.
Would be a critical component. Okay.
I'll second it.
Second by Cosmore. Council, any further discussion?
I'd like,
Go ahead.
go ahead, go ahead. Go ahead.
Do the goats have names?
I don't know, they probably do. I can find out who they bring out. They're going to bring 5 of them.
Okay, that's all I wanted.
Pardon? What?
I think money's a little tight. I consider this kind of frivolous, so I'm going to be voting no, just so everybody knows.
It is a beautification budget.
The vegetation's going to regrow again. Why don't beautification pay for it then? Why the city should pay for it?
Beautification is paying for
Well,
it.
I'm going to vote no anyway because I still think it's frivolous. So I'm just saying.
That's fine.
Everybody has a vote.
Yeah, you do.
Any other discussion?
To me, I think, you know, we do have to get the weeds, there's where it's at. I do not like using chemicals, so I'm more nature. So I kind of like this solution, I mean.
I do, I think it brings kids and families the opportunity to learn through it, and it's a small community, so it's gonna be central focus for a lot of people, and it gives some learning value there. So,
Yeah. Kids will learn from it.
Appreciate that. Thank you, Dorothy, for putting all this together. Any other discussion? Katie, call roll.
Valentine?
No.
Wood?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Cosmore?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Mulnar?
Yes.
Schumate?
Yes. Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Please be in touch with all the details. We'll make sure Mike incorporates that resolution, that city attorney is completely on board with all finalization of paperwork. And please keep us updated on the dates
I will.
List of
Thank you.
names too.
and names for Councilman Mulder. All right. Dorothy, anything else in your court?
Nope, that's it.
Appreciate it. Congrats on all the museum. I know you gave a lot of shout outs to a lot of people, but you've been the champion for all that, so thank you. Councilman Cox, talk to us about life in the Planning Commission and DDA.
Although it's very difficult to follow Councilman Wood and goatscaping, we'll give it a shot. Planning Commission notes for the 7/16 meeting where we introduced and welcomed a new planner, Jane Dixon from McKenna. We received and filed 2 correspondence. One was a termination letter sent to Wade Trim from our previous planner, and a letter regarding the proposed horse stable project from Zeb and Jennifer Bates. The commission approved the special use language for the proposed horse equestrian center. And as you recall, this is proposed for the northwest corner of Gibraltar Road in West Jefferson. This is currently zoned as an R1 district, and after a thorough review of the special use language that was drafted by our previous planner, our new planner agreed with the language and felt that the language covers the commission's and the city's concerns. The commission then authorized the scheduling of the required public hearing. That public hearing is scheduled for the 8/20 meeting. This coincides with the regular meeting. We also scheduled another item for public hearing at that point for the C3 Marine RV pads to reduce that quantity from the original 39 allowed down to the 26 that have been placed there. So those 2 items are listed on this public hearing meeting for 8/20 through the Planning Commission. We also approved a request for 28635 West Jefferson. This is the old Pranks on the Marsh. to utilize the existing sign base and canopy area dimensions that were previously utilized for a new sign for the new business. Our sign ordinance now has been adjusted and it would not conform. So this is a non-conforming use, but we authorized it. Okay. Now on to the DDA. We received a report from Recreation Director Goris on a recap of the 4th of July events. We authorized to go out for the fireworks, not to exceed amount of $15,000, but we requested to go out for bids for the tents, the stage, the porta-johns, the tables, the chairs, and those items. We also directed, we also approved the bid process for 3 projects. The City Hall roof, the DPW auxiliary site fencing, and I think you'll hear more of this from Vince after me, and the HVAC system replacement for the Talbot Community Center. These projects will be funded with the surplus money from the water main project. That's my report.
Thorough report. Thank you so much. Any questions for Councilman Cox? Awesome. Appreciate that. Councilman McNabb, talk to us about Waterways Commission.
The Waterways Commission, the gentlemen got together Thursday, worked on the old harvester. I think they may have it close to getting running. The other crew did the buoys along Humbug to the pier. They put the 3 rock buoys in there. And as far as the new weed harvester goes, Commissioner Garza will have a meeting with the County Corporation Council tomorrow. I'll have more information on that after tomorrow, and the procurement status, I just keep pushing for it to get it rolling, and that's about all I have right now.
Amazing
I want
work.
to thank them guys for working on this, because I didn't show up.
Well, thank you so much for all you've been doing on that front, and to the Waterways Commission more broadly for getting that weed harvester back in action and getting a new one on the way. Appreciate it immensely.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any questions for Councilman McNabb? All right, Councilman Molnar.
No report.
All right, that will close out council reports, and we will pass it along to Parks and Recreation Director Goris.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This Thursday, my Music in the Park canceled, so I have replaced that band with Sonic Fury. It'll start at 6 o'clock until 9. There'll Senor Mexican food truck will be there, and 231 Bakery House will be there. Also, Movie in the Park is August 28th. We'll have food trucks, juggling, bounce houses, and movie at dark. Rotary and Kiwanis will be there with projects for the kids to do.
We have free books for the kids, too.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And then the farm market starts next Wednesday, the 31st, from 1 to 6. And please stop by and see our vendors.
Well, thanks for calling an
all I
audible
had.
to Sonic Fury.
Yeah.
And just a note on that front, council, please mark your calendars if you're available and interested. As a part of City of Rockwood, we're absorbing their dispatch. And so as a part of that, we're doing a barbecue at 4 p.m. on Thursday at the fire station, for those that can make it. That invites City of Rockwood, mayor and administration, but their dispatch and police and fire personnel, as well as our police, dispatch, and fire personnel. And thank you for coordinating that. But the goal will be to have a nice barbecue together and build on what is going to be an awesome collaboration, get to know one another, get to have people see the facilities as they may not have been. So 4 p.m. Thursday, hot dogs, burgers, sides, desserts at the fire station. Please be there if you can be there. And then we'll, for those that want to join, we can roll over and walk to Music in the Park and continue the festivities. No alcoholic beverages at the fire station, so those will be saved for anybody at Music in the Park. All right, thank you, Parks and Recreation Director Goris. City Attorney.
Nothing to report.
City Administrator. We have 3 items, A through C.
Vince was doing those.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If you want
go
me to
ahead.
go through those. Requesting authorization to issue requests for bids for 3 projects within the DDA district. As Councilmember Cox mentioned, it was brought before the DDA since they would be financing these projects, but they are on city-owned property, so I think authorization from council is necessary. That would be the community center HVA system replacement, which still needs to be drafted. I've drafted the city hall roof replacement as well as the DPW auxiliary fence. I'll probably end up changing the dates on those, need a little bit more time with that, but because I also would like a review by the Infrastructure Advisory Committee for any thoughts that they might have before issuing that, and then hopefully I'll have at the next meeting a draft of request for bids for the catwalk replacement at our pump station. Mr. Zont, who's in the audience, was kind enough to put some detail together for that. But specifically tonight is for the 3 projects listed within the DDA district.
Motion to authorize city administration to issue requests for bids for the following projects: the City Hall roof replacement, community center HVAC system replacement, the DPW auxiliary site fencing project.
Motion by Cox, is there a second?
Second.
Second. Council, any discussion? Just to plant the seed here, and Vince and team, you can educate me because this is not my area of expertise, but with some of the electrical issues we've been facing, I know there's been historical discussions on a generator for the community center. Would there be any relevance to HVAC or other companies bundling in a generator as a part of the bid process? I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe not, no?
Looking
Separate item.
internally across the,
I don't
There's
think
some.
so, no. I mean, I don't see a value in bundling it, only because the same work would have to occur if you did it independently versus bundling. I mean, if you wanted to, you could, but it wouldn't save, there's no work that would be duplicated in those processes.
All right, cool.
it may make sense if we're bundling is to consider it in the context, because we've talked about doing, a backup generator for the DPW site across the street here, across the
Yeah.
parking lot. So that may make some more sense to do that bundle.
All right, maybe we think about that for follow-up discussions with planning DDA and, okay, cool. Any other discussion? Katie, please call roll.
Wood?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Cosmore?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Molnar.
Yes.
Schumate?
Yes.
Valentine?
Yes.
Motion carried. Vince, thanks for all the hard work on that, and Councilman Cox and planning DDA, thanks for all the support. Back to you.
Next item is request to approve a grant agreement with Wayne County Parks for Cook Community Center flooring. This would be the second installment of a project, a little over $10,000. This would be $4,735 for this current fiscal year of would be the county's 23-24 fiscal year. A lot of agreement there for a small amount of money, but anyways, we're requesting council approval for it.
Council motion would be in your court.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Cosmore, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Valentine. Council, any discussion on this item?
Nice to have the whole floor done.
Yeah.
It's done.
Mayor, on that package, Vince, there's a sign requirement on it. Is that still be holding?
It's already there, the sign's in place, everything's done. This is,
Yeah, this is all done, right?
Yep.
it's all done, everything's there.
How much does the sign cost?
I think 300 and some dollars,
Okay, thank you.
4,000.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Katie, please call roll.
Cox?
Yes.
Cosmore?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Molnar.
Yes.
Schumate?
Yes.
Valentine?
Yes.
Wood?
No.
Motion carried. Item C, Vince, back to you.
Requesting approval of professional service agreement with Plant Moran to provide some accounting support related to the fiscal year 23-24 audit. As I put in the report, the Government Accounting Standards Board pronouncements over the last few decades have made it more and more complicated. And with our finance director, relatively new to the governmental arena, They put together some schedules on her behalf that go into the comprehensive accounting financial report. This is not uncommon, particularly for small communities, to do that. And as Amy had indicated, the number keeps going down each year. And I anticipate, within a short period of time, she'll be putting all of the schedules together. But it's not uncommon for them to provide this support, particularly with small communities. And given the costly pronouncements and detail that go into it that serve probably very little value to anybody. But at any rate, that's my social commentary on that. But it is a common support that's provided.
Awesome, Vince, thank you. Council motion being in court for approval of the professional services agreement.
Motion.
Motion by Molnar. Is there a second?
Second.
I think I heard McNabb first. Discussion?
I think it's helpful anytime that you're looking at things to have another professional to bounce it off of and help, rather than it be a one-person show. So it makes sense to have some support there.
Love that. And I think, Vince, you had, sorry, just for everybody's education that may not have been close to this, right? The price has dropped.
Oh, yeah.
Right,
yeah.
so
I mean,
as
the
we-
last couple of years, I think Amy said it was a little over 3,000, down to 2,000 last year. And, as she's getting more familiar and comfortable with some of these schedules that in the private sector probably don't make much sense, it's helpful to have that assistance there and available, so.
Important context, thank you. Appreciate you, Amy, too, for all the work you've done on that. All right, any discussion further? Katie, please call roll.
Hasmore?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Mulnar?
Yes.
Schumate?
Yes.
Valentine?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Motion carried. Vince, anything else from you? Thanks for all your continued hard work, appreciate it. Clerk Tomasic.
Okay. Yeah, I actually I want to pass along some information about our upcoming primary election on Tuesday, August 6th. Voters have 3 options to vote in this election. First option is absentee, and if you'd like to get an absentee ballot to vote at home, please come to our office or contact City Hall, and we'll be happy to get one for you. The next option's a little newer. It's going to be our second election with early voting. Early voting is going to be open for all voters in precincts 1 and 2 at the Gil Talbert Community Center, starting this Saturday, July 27th, through next Sunday, August 4th. And that's 9 whole days where early voting is going to be open and available. Early voting means you go to the community center on those days and you vote in person just like you do on election day. But you can avoid the long lines of election day. And early voting will be open from 8:30 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. on those days mentioned, again, starting this Saturday, July 27th. And last but not least, in-person voting on Election Day. Polls will be open on Election Day, Tuesday, August 6th, from 7 o'clock a.m. to 8 o'clock p.m. for all Gibraltar voters. And something else to note, this is a primary election, and that means there's a Democratic primary election and a Republican primary election happening at the same time. And both those primaries are on the same ballot. So that means on your ballot, you can only either vote all Democrat or all Republican. So there's going to be a Democrat column and a Republican column on that one ballot, and you have to vote the same column all the way down. Can't cross over. And if you do cross over, it's going to invalidate the whole party section of your ballot.
Yeah, the next election, they can.
Yes, this is only because this is a primary election in August. Yeah, so I know that gets confusing sometimes, so just wanted to explain the reason. And one other thing I want to add, I've had a few people ask me how the news over the weekend about President Biden dropping out of the race affects this election. It doesn't. It doesn't affect the August election at all. So I just wanted to point that out as well. And that's all I have. So if you have any questions about the upcoming election, I'll be happy to answer.
I just want to give you a huge shout out as somebody who's seen it closely. Your operation, there's an immense amount of work that you pour into these elections. And I know it's a team and an army, but just thank you. It's incredibly robust preparation and a lot on you beyond everything else you're doing in the office. So
Thank you.
Oh, and she's great. She does a great
you do
job.
a phenomenal job, and we're very grateful for that.
Thank you.
Any questions for Clerk Tomasic? Treasurer Fonte.
I was going to go to the podium, but the farther I get away from my paper, I can't see it, so I'll sit here and do it. It's more of a social commentary like Vince, the follow-up on the Plant Moran correspondences. So a little bit about where I'm at right now, and then I'm going to fall into the Plant Moran discussion. We came into the position with a very open mind as being the treasurer, and with a priority to acquire data and information to approach departmental procedures relating to preventative and detective controls. Some of this investigation was derived from a list of priorities that were driven from my past business experiences, and some were related to accounting best practices. And as we marched on, issues were discovered, and they were quickly resolved by instituting the required preventative and detective controls. Everyone in that administrative office is engaged towards finding solutions to problems and establishing preventative controls, and this requires continuous discipline and oversight from all the department heads, the administrator, most importantly, mayor and council. And this whole subject matter brings me in front of you tonight and the challenges ahead that, as council, you're going to face. So I can tell you, I was surprised when I opened the council package last Thursday. There were 3 letters addressed in it from Plant Moran. I believe one went to the mayor, one went to Katie, and I don't know if council members have had a chance to look at their correspondence. But we're going to challenge you with that tonight. Although we recommend highly that all 3 letters be actually read and detailed by everybody at the council chambers here tonight, the one in particular we'll discuss is the one addressed to City Council. And at this time, I'd like you to open that letter. You've got it in your package. It's addressed to council, and we'll discuss briefly some of the items on it. The rest you're going to have to read in detail. I'm not going to go into all the details, but I want to point out some of the significant things in there that it's really reflective on my review coming in here for the first time and the questions that I've obtained from my review. The last time council received a correspondence somewhat similar to this was the upcoming audit in 2022. So this morning I asked Katie and Amy to secure any of the recent letters, and 2022 was the last time Plant Moran actually corresponded to council. So I secured that letter for comparison to the 2024 letter that you have in front of you now. If you want a copy of the 2022 letter of June, you can ask Katie or Amy for that, and they'll be more than happy to give that to you for comparison purposes. But my assumption with this current letter, when you start looking at the details that are provided in it, has everything to do with the recent turn of events in this country, and most in particular in the Metro Detroit area. One of them that we've talked about in the past was the Detroit River Conservancy, where for over 12 years, $42 million were fraudulently taken from that system under the auspices of some of the finest CEOs, auditors in the city or in the metropolitan area. Similarly, Ann Arbor Schools had a recent audit, and then 3 months afterwards, they wake up and they're $25 million in the hole. And we don't want that to happen here. Council has to be engaged here, and I'm going to point out some things, what your responsibility should be. But I don't even have to do that. If you read the letter, and this is what I would call a very significant correspondence. In the past, when I was out in the council gallery, I would read these letters, and I would always say and comment that Plant Moran has a real nice way of telling you something in a real polite way, where in my business there was more crude way of telling somebody that you're really screwing up. This letter is a lot different. It gets to some major concerns and points, and I think it's important that we kind of digest this. So if you have the letter in front of you, let's begin. If you notice on the first page, there's under our responsibility and under general accepted auditing standards. You really don't have to read much more other than the last sentence of that paragraph. And it states, our audit of the financial statement does not relieve you or management of your responsibilities. And I would imagine a lot of these cautionary things that you're about to read here is nothing more than what Plant Moran got themselves in trouble with probably on these recent audits that they were involved with. And they want to make sure that, you know, pretty much they're covered and throw the onus on the people that run the city. So it's important that you understand these things. Like I said, I had a lot of these in my summary that I was going to address, Council, but I don't think, and I've discussed this with Vince, and I was asking for a personal meeting with the auditors before they come in, and I still want to meet with them, but they've reduced this to a few talking points for me when they come in. They've done a very good job here with the concerns that I think we should all be looking at. If you go under the next title, bold title statement, it says overview of the plan, scope, and timing of the audit. And if you read those last three paragraphs, you're going to find some interesting language there that they caution you on because of our small operation here and the amount of money that we handle and the small staff that we have. Errors could be made if we don't have our controls in place. And that's not saying that they're prevalent here now. It's just a fact that that's what happens when small businesses or small cities that have millions of dollars flowing through, that mistakes can happen, and we have to be aware of that. So as council, there's going to be things that they're going to talk about that you're going to be able to do at your council desk here through questions and answers and so on and so forth. On the second page, it starts off with 2 bullet points. One of them is the significant management estimates related to the total pension liabilities and the total OPEB liabilities. OPEB is the other post-employment benefits. So a lot of times management will overstate those things, and they're going to be looking at how we state that and if we're conservative with it and so on and so forth. A lot of this for Vince and other people, it's old hat, but for council people, you got to understand they're directing this to you, no one else, not the finance department, not even the treasurer. They made a bold statement here. This is to city council. So the next 3 bullet points, there's discussions there, there's details there you can read in the confines of your study time at home or wherever. Again, when it comes to the OPEB liabilities, they're going to perform a detailed testing and analytical procedure surrounding the assumptions that we make in the calculation of total pension liabilities. And that's so that we don't get underfunded here. So they're taking, these things have, when I do a comparative study between the last letter to council in 2022 to this, these are significant changes. If you go down to the bottom where it says information from you relevant to our audit, the second bullet point, it says matters that you consider warrant particular attention during the audit in any areas that you want to request additional procedures to be undertaken. So they start making some suggestions here. This is the last page. Understanding the city relationships and transactions with related parties that are significant to the city and any concern regarding those relationships or transactions. And I think with the new face at council, we've made new inroads in that by looking at professional services agreements, and that's going to continue. We're going to continue that with other vendor accounts and so on and so forth. Take a hard look at some of the past practices and if we're getting the best bang for our dollar here. The attitude, awareness, and actions concerning the city's internal controls and including how members of city council oversee the effectiveness of internal controls and detection or possibility of fraud. Big statement there. I've listened to evaluations in the past, and I've seen council in the past pass out a lot of pats on the back without really going into detail on what the function of a person's employment responsibilities are. And they're huge. Like I said, there's a small staff here. There's a lot of burden on a lot of these individuals here, and it needs a team to help them through this. They need fighters for them when they sense something is wrong. If they don't have that ability to go to people to suggest there's problems, it goes on deaf ears, and then we find some of the things that I found in the recent studies that I've been doing that are nothing more than not being able to take some of these things a step higher that they should be able to. So internal controls and members of council overseeing this, I'll get back to how you can do that. It's pretty simple. The second bullet there is the detection of possible fraud, including whether members of city council has knowledge of any actual suspected or alleged fraud affecting the city. So these are the attitudes and awareness that city council should bring to an auditor or bring to the council as a whole and make these suggestions so that you have an arm in Plant Moran that can do these studies for you to find out where our weaknesses or fraud or any of those things that are suspect to affecting our bottom line here. They'll also look into any significant unusual transactions that the city has entered into. So the actions of the members of city council in response to developments in accounting standards, regulation laws, previous communications for us and other related matters, and the effect of such developments on, for example, the overall presentation structure and the content of the financial statement, including the relevance, reliability, comparability, and understandability of the information provided in the financial statement, and whether all required information has been included in the financial statement, whether such information has been appropriately classified, aggregated, disaggregated, and presented. So they're looking for questions from council, regardless of how simple or the question may be. These are the things that bring issues up and could be described better than I can or maybe even Amy can. But there's questions on a financial statement. There's nobody on this table outside of maybe one or two that can actually read a good financial statement and understand it without asking some questions. So when you get this financial statement, you're going to have questions. I would urge you to ask any questions, no matter how stupid it might sound in your head, to ask it to get your answer. So moving forward in the future, you'll have a better understanding of it. They leave you a number, a 313 number, if you have any questions as a council person, to move forward with Plant Moran and ask them that, if you don't want to do it in the presence of anybody here. So please read that letter. It's very important. It designates a lot of the responsibilities as a council person and the attachment to our financial stability here. So let's talk about what we can do about the recommendation. So Vince, one of the reasons I wanted to talk to Plant Moran was to help us out with a few things with controls. One of them would be, I'm still on the bench about the ACH account, which is the automatic clearinghouse account that our checks are now being written out of, a majority of them for like payroll. So if council would look at their package of all the check registries in the beginning of the package, it's pretty much of a daunting task. I know it is for me, but if you look down at the bottom of some of those spreadsheets, you'll see the girls have prepared, it'll say physical checks, 1, total check stubs, 4, or, paper checks, they'll give you a count of paper checks and the ACH checks. So a lot of these checks, a treasurer won't see, or the co-signers of checks won't see because they go out automatically. Somebody presses a button in the office and these checks go on. Now, the administrative staff has procedures in place to prevent issues from happening. I'd like to have those procedures reviewed and with a good understanding from everybody, because the whole intent of this is to establish best practice procedures that can carry through different administrations. And it's going to take, because what happens is, as you know, an elected official come and go, and then the pattern decreases or diminishes on the disciplines. And that's why we need strong people in these department head positions, so that we don't lose that weakness, or a weak mayor or a weak council will leave its guard down, and the administrative staff in there will leave their guard down, and then we become suspect to the problems. We don't want that to happen. We want these procedures to be able to carry over terms of members going in and out of government here. So if you look at the check registers, the vendor registers and everything else, you'll notice that some of them are paid through ACH and some of them are through a paper check. I want to try to get a little stronger controls, common sense controls, to where everybody can understand it in the office, and we can proceed without worry, and have the responsibilities in place for that. The other thing is our banking and investment fund security. We have to review that and come up with protocols. I'm not comfortable with where we're at right now with that. But it needs a further discussion, and I think the place for that would be with Plant Moran, to how we can deal with that, and then we can contact the banks and make our changes moving forward. We talked about looking at the check registers and the vendor list and everything else, but as you notice, that's a pretty daunting several pages of vendor checks, payroll checks. There's probably 20 pages there of checks that were written, and my suggestion would be, so that it gets a thorough review, the suggestion would be for council maybe to designate one person at an upcoming council meeting to thoroughly review that register and make recommendations. Pick out some questions you might have. Why does this vendor have this much money assigned to it? Why does this employee have this kind of a check coming? So on and so forth. And challenge the finance department and the treasury department to supply you answers with that, to make sure that council here knows actually what is being paid out through these, through the payroll register, through the vendor register, and other things that are going out through these pages.
Well, we're able to call anytime that we need information. We're able to get a hold of the office to ask questions. I'm kind of insulted that you don't think I read my packet before I come here.
Oh, no, I didn't say that. I don't know why, when I find it troublesome, Councilwoman, that every time I suggest something, people get, when it comes to control, people get offended by it. And I'm not here to offend anybody. I'm here to make sure we're strengthening ourselves. And I applaud you for looking at it. I just, my question is, I wonder how many people look at that, but that's not really the relevant question. The relevant question is to actually read that correspondence from Plant Moran and digest what the responsibility of council is on how they're perceiving council should do as their responsibility. So there was no intent for me to call anybody out here. I'm making suggestions that people actually need to read that. And if the suggestion for a council person to take the responsibility for the one council meeting to review all that, if that's not a good suggestion, then fine. But what I've found sitting out in that gallery a lot of time, I've heard council or leaders of council being chastised by previous mayors that, oh, it was in your council package. And, okay, well, that means that it slipped by somebody, but at the time, council was privy to the information. It skirted through because nobody looked at it. Now, sometimes there's intent for people to slide things in because sometimes they think people aren't looking for it. That's human nature. And we all have to be aware that that can happen. That's just human life. So that's what I'm asking for, is to take all these things seriously. These girls don't put all that time and effort in putting, I mean, these are intensified, detailed lists of check registries and so, vendor protocols and everything else. It does require, and I think it requires the respect of everybody here, to take their hard work and look at it in detail and make comments. It keeps everybody on their toes, and I think it's good for the community to hear that we're watching. If I was sitting there right now, I would have no idea that you would actually look at that, because I have no idea as a gallery person that even these things exist. I'd always questioned, how do we know what we're paying and so on and so forth. So it's.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
So I brought some of that similar stuff up a year ago from sitting in the gallery and asking the questions. I never really understood the bills of reference and what processes went into that. And I'm learning more and more through your involvement here. And one of the items of the letter that says here is to report and discuss is, what are the city council members' overall effectiveness of internal controls of detection and possibly of fraud? From my perspective, we have none. We have zero. We rely entirely on the finance department, the treasurer, and the mayor, and the city administrator, and we rely on what we're told. So we don't have any controls in place right now, and it's something that, you know, I'm into financial statements. I enjoy reading this stuff, and I realize I'm probably one of very few. When we get talking about financial statements, it's rather boring. The finance part to many people is very boring, and it loses a lot of people early on. I happen to enjoy it.
Yes, do I.
But when I look at some of these things, like for instance, the call out of this, somebody who's got performing administrative tasks, also doing bank reconciliations, that would never happen in one of my businesses.
Well, yeah, there is stuff that need to be tightened up, and so I know some of the problem was we're small, so we don't, you know, everybody's doing 2 and 3 jobs in the office. So that, you know, yeah, totally, but it's like, you know.
So when we have, you know, there are, no matter what size entity you have, there are always bills that are gonna slip by. And we find those on reconciliations. That's when you have somebody separate reviewing the reconciliation versus somebody who's making the payments. If I'm the one making the payments, I'm going to make mistakes when I have to make, if I have to make 400 payments in 2 hours, I'm probably going to make a mistake. That's a lot for one person to review if I'm not also making those purchases. If I'm paying a bill that Rick made the purchase on, I don't know, but I got 400 of them and I got a couple hours to do it. That's why you have a third set of eyes looking at the reconciliation saying, why did we make this payment? If we don't know what those internal controls are, then we can't, as council members, commit that we're doing what we're supposed to be doing here. For me, I don't know what we're supposed to be doing. I don't know if we're supposed to rely entirely on the finance department, the treasurer, the city administrator, mayor. I guess I would like some clarification on that. Maybe it is through a conversation with Plant Moran. But that's one of the most important things, is protecting your wallet, for sure. Thank you for the amount of homework that you've done in bringing a lot of this stuff to our attention.
But like I said, we're always able to, though, call the office. If you have any kind of questions, I know I've called on quite a few different times that, you know, called the, you know, financial department and say, okay, what is this for? Why, you know, I don't understand what this one is. I mean, that is there, and so that's something all of us should be doing, because I know myself, I read all this stuff before I come in here. I mean, I study everything before I come in here.
Yeah, I think a couple of thoughts just from me. Treasurer Fonte, thanks for the overview. Number one is, this letter is to council, and I encourage every single council member to reach out to that number, 313-496-7231, to have a discussion around any concerns or areas that you have questions, so that it's incorporated into the audit proceedings. I think Treasurer Fonte called out ACH account and the procedure, banking and investment procedures, some of these other areas that he is uncovering as he's diving in. So I think we should all place focus on it. And then I think the third piece is, I know that in my discussion with Treasurer Fonte, and even in the operation as it stands today, there's been several errors caught. Literally check stop that were not appropriate, savings found by auditing some of the professional services. So I do have a very high level of confidence in the team as it stands today. I think we're operating from a place of general strength, but there's absolutely opportunity for improvement, and I think that's what we all got to do to put our heads together. And to Councilwoman Cosmore's point, there's a lot of teams sitting in that office every day that would love to discuss the details in the packet. And as you're getting the packet on a Thursday, if there's questions on any of the bills, any of the references, any of the backup documentation, I encourage every council member that has those questions to reach out or come in and have those discussions, because that information is available. And where you don't feel the process is sufficient, let's have that discussion, because I don't think anybody is going to stand in the way of process optimization. Any other thoughts from you, Treasurer? Oh,
I would just, I realize that our office is small in terms of resources, and so a lot of people have to wear multiple hats. So when I make the comment about, not having the same person that are performing the administrative functions also doing bank reconciliations, if that means that we have to provide some resources for our staff, such as outsourcing some of those things, or finding volunteers to come in and help with that, or whatever additional resources are needed to bolster us up and help us with the resources that we're short-staffed on, I'm all for that.
yeah.
I agree. One of the things I've done as the department head in the police department was every time this council packet comes out, I sit down with it, and it wouldn't be tonight, but when I go back on tomorrow, I'm going to sit down and make sure that every check that came out of the police department budget aligns with what I spent for it. And I confirm it, and it has been difficult on some of the credit card purchases. Sometimes get blended together, and I have to go ask some questions. But it's not a hard procedure for your department heads to be checking what they spent. So whoever's in charge of those departments should be checking to make sure they align with what they spent. And that's as simple as sitting down. It takes 10 minutes every 2 weeks to just make sure that I spent that, it came out of the right account. And there's been a couple times where I've caught something and walked over, and it just was miscoded on the wrong account. We fixed it. So mistakes are going to happen, but they're minor usually. But we got to have department heads doing what they need to do to check that also. It's, we have many people here. Everybody's got to take time to figure out when they're leading a department, are they going to put their work in and do what they're supposed to do?
Yeah,
If I
well said.
could say something as well, is just, I was telling the administrator before the meeting that mentally over the weekend, we had a meeting on Friday regarding internal controls, and basically I'd mentally written it in my head how this, not only purchasing policy, but it kind of goes into the control aspect of it, is ACH. How do we handle that? I'll be honest with you, I think we should just basically run most of our utilities through an ACH, because it keeps narrowing down the probability of fraud and error. I will tell you, escrow accounts, we're cleaning it up, but for goodness sakes, that was kind of a mess. And you know what? You need to know this is an escrow account, because there's going to have to be a party responsible, I've told the staff, because they were struggling with knowing that there were balances that were out of whack. I said, you have internally, either the administrator, an engineer, community development is going to have a direct relationship with the consultant that's working with the developer, so that at least you as a council know who's the responsible party for this action here, and it's presented to you in the future so that you know and understand that. Credit cards, we got to fix that. I'm not a big fan, never have been, and that's really where an opportunity. So as I was drafting this thing mentally in my head, all of these things are valid, but that's something that council can go through and understand. This is how we protect ourselves, putting the right controls in there, identifying who's responsible for what, minimizing the opportunities through electronic transfers, I think would help minimize, so that there's only a very few transactions that are out there to help you with it. But, I do think that, there is a lot of merit to what Mr. Fonte's talking about, and I think just through our discussions, there's ways that we can, and I say we, collectively, the council, address the responsibilities that are identified in Plant Moran's letter, so.
Well said.
This discussion is very much like a debrief of a critical situation. We believe that we got a letter from Plant Moran. We have to, how can we get better? That's all we're doing. We're debriefing. Now we just got to get into it and come up with some procedures and policies, how we tighten up the belt. I think we can go back to a year ago. We mailed out a pretty substantial check that never made it to where it was supposed to go. And we were, filing a complaint with our police department that this was stolen, and we changed those processes immediately. And thanks to Amy, now we have a process where it has to be approved. So you learn, and hopefully no one gets hurt. But I think if we catch it beforehand, we're in great shape.
Yeah. And hats off to, because I know Treasurer Fonte, we talked about some of the previous audits, and Amy, our finance director, suggesting very tangible improvement opportunities to council and administration. So I feel very confident in the people we have in our seats, and I know they're dedicated to doing the right thing, and I don't think anybody's going to sit in this administration and turn down a solution to optimization or a problem. And I appreciate the overview. And if there's one directive, council, it's please reach out to that number if you have any areas you want to be looked at from an audit perspective, number one. And two, please come in and talk with any areas that you want further clarity on or suggestions for further transparency information on.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that it's pretty much what I was trying to do is paraphrase Plant Moran and the importance of that letter, because the letter increased in size with the problems that we face in the world today from 2022. So it's important that we grab hold of that and use that as a baseline for things that we may or may not need to improve on. That's
I
it.
think we're all aligned on the greater good opportunity in front of us. All right. Any other comments, Treasurer Fonte, from your report
No.
this evening?
That's it.
All right. Next up, we have Finance Director, very timely. Finance Director, we'll let you get to the podium, and you got 2 items for us in your packet.
I have a motion to accept the engagement letter from Plant Moran, which you guys basically read over all the stuff, so I would need a motion for that.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Cosmore. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wood. Any further discussion? I know we've had a lot already. Great. Katie, please call roll.
McNabb.
Yes.
Mulner.
Yes.
Schumate.
Yes.
Valentine.
Yes.
Wood. Cox.
Yes.
Cosmore.
Yes.
Motion carried. And Amy, back to you.
Transfer resolution from major to local roads. We do this every year. It's to help have extra funding in local roads.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Cosmore. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wood. Council, any discussion? Katie, please call roll.
Mulner.
Yes.
Schumate.
Yes.
Valentine.
Yes.
Wood.
Yes.
Cox.
Yes.
Cosmore.
Yes.
McNabb.
Thank you, Amy. We'll turn over to Police Chief Tangway.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, before you tonight is the Department of Public Safety report for covering the police department, dated July 17th, 2024. I had to put this one in just a little bit early because I had some prior arrangements. The only added on the first 2 pages is the court costs came in, showing our court costs were, the city of Gibraltar paid $904, where we budget $68.50.17 for the month of June. So we trended way down there, so that's good. The ordinance officer report is included in the package. Fire department payroll with comparisons is included in the package. And I had some news to update on dispatch consolidation. We're moving along. Our target date is August the 5th. We had a meeting today where the chief of Rockwood came over, fire chief of Rockwood came over, Joe Schaefer sat in on it, and Tim Trush, and our dispatcher, and we did some test calls. Everything's working smoothly. We will be testing the 911 system, and we plan to meet every Thursday until this goes on, so a couple Thursdays, and then we're going to be started. We plan to kick off August 5th at 7 a.m. We foresee that we're aware we're going to have some problems, and we're going to start documenting right away and how do we fix any of those issues, but we believe that it'll be very successful. We think the problems will maybe just more data entry, not phone lines. Calls will be responded to, cars will be dispatched, but it's just how those calls get entered and things like that will be our minor glitches at the beginning, we believe. The phone lines were tested once for 911, and they appear to be working, and they tell us they'll be on. So we're good there. Action items tonight, we can remove 24-10 as council approved that. I want to thank council for that opportunity. And Mayor, I believe it's a great chance, and I think with having it out, it's like try it. I'll try and see how it goes. We're going to remove 24-12, which was the Tahoe purchase at this point. And so the only action I'll have in front of you tonight is 24-11, repair of vehicle 15.5, which I had misquoted in the first one, and the price came in different. So I'm looking for a motion to pay for that repair.
Council, the information is in your packet, but motion for emergency vehicle repair.
Motion to approve the emergency vehicle repair.
Second.
Second by McNabb. Council, any discussion?
That vehicle, now that vehicle was repaired and then taken back again?
So it was repaired, and they were driving it, and it started, in this same, I mean, it couldn't have been as similar as the last one. As soon as you put a few more miles on it, another fuel injector goes. So there's multiple different coil pats and injectors, and,
And a lifter failure.
yeah,
That's big.
yeah. They had to pull the head, is what he said to me, and I am not a mechanic in any part, but.
That's not easy on that Alice base.
Yeah, and, this is, those year vehicles, the newer ones aren't as bad, but those years were definitely trending to have that same problem. I think it was 2017 through 19 for some reason.
Thank you. Any other comments, discussion? Katie, please call roll.
Schumate?
Yes.
Valentine?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Cosmore?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Molnar?
Yes.
Motion carried. Back to you.
Just want to thank council for approving Enterprise, and we're looking forward to Thursday.
Yes, very much so. Hope to see everybody there. All right, you might see a new face sitting over there. I'm going to pass to Sergeant Schaefer.
Good evening to Mayor and Council. In the absence of Chief Kane, I'll be presenting the Fire Department report for July 3rd to the 18th. We had a total of 26 calls, 23 being rescues, 3 being fires, 2 auto aids to neighboring cities, and 1 mutual aid. That concludes it for the Fire Department. As far as the DPW, they have restarted their lead and copper verification as they got the back truck back, and they will be doing sample testing for the annual lead and copper starting July 29th, and they have 20 sites to test and send out for.
Fantastic. Any questions for Sergeant Schaefer on the fire and/or DPW front? Thanks for representing. All right. With that being said, we do not have any unfinished business. Council, I know it's been a long meeting, but there's definitely a time-sensitive topic that needs to be covered, and I think we have all the information assembled, and we've already discussed a majority of it, but I'd ask for a motion to be considered to enter a closed session, but procedurally, please keep me honest on how we verify that.
If you'd like, we could do the public comment and then move into closed session. If there's no action to be taken
Okay.
after the closed session.
Council, you supported that? Great. Public, we'd like to be entering closed session pending council motion to talk about some of the contract negotiations that are ongoing. But before we get there, I want to open up for public comment. If there's any public comment for members that are here this evening. Don't forget to state that name and address for us, please.
Justice Walden, 30726 Adams. I just had a question. So I had asked Dorothy at the last meeting, the Stevens representative that was here, in the contract, I had asked if there was anything regarding bulk pickup.
Yes.
And he wasn't able to answer that question for me, so I didn't know if you had the contract and you were able to answer. Was the bulk pickup included in that contract, or is there going to be an extra fee that comes with that?
Kind of both. There's 2 items that they will pick up curbside on the day of collection. It probably won't be with the truck picking up the tote, but they will have another vehicle doing the rounds with that. If you have beyond 2, you're going to need to contact Stevens, and there'll be an extra billing above and beyond the second item that you have there.
Okay, so if I have like a dresser and a mattress or something out there, that would be fine?
Fine.
Yeah.
Just don't go anything
Other
over
than
than that?
the mattress, they would like to have that sealed, obviously.
Okay.
Problem with bed bugs have been
That's fair.
historically a problem.
That's fair.
So they would like that sealed, but, yeah, you have two bulk items, and, you know, you could put two out for the next month if you wanted to, if
Okay.
that's what it takes, so.
Well, that was my concern. So like down in Monroe, they do it a little bit differently, where if you have anything, you have to call, and then they'll bill you a separate bill. So I didn't know if that was gonna be something that we were gonna be on the hook for or not. And then to Councilwoman Cosmore's thing about the yard waste thing, I'm not a professional by any means, but I do know that as far as using the big bin for yard waste, I think it will depend on the kind of truck that they have. There are some trucks out there that have hydraulic lifts, so they can pick the big bins up and do it, but I'm not sure. So just to kind of put you in a direction.
Well,
might be
that's
a
what I was
question to
thinking,
ask.
it's gonna be too heavy for somebody to pick it up.
Right,
It's full of
so
yard
if
waste.
they have the hydraulic
I just
lifts,
wanted
I
to
think
make
they can
sure,
do
because
it,
I had a
but-
question from citizens, so,
Right.
you know,
Okay,
I appreciate that.
that's it. Have a good
Thank
day.
you, Justice, appreciate it. And we'll make sure the bulk pickup details are described in the presentation we alluded to earlier. And actually, Justice, I'm so sorry, Justice, we do have this information. So 2 bulk items allowed per week. If you have more than 2 bulk items, you can call City Hall and they can schedule a special pickup, and each additional item is $10. And I will recall that with the discussion with Stevens Management, there's usually a sliding scale based on like size and dimensions, and they were glad to just have it as a flat $10 fee regardless of size or scale of those items. I'm sure there might be some level of restriction there, but Vince, keep me honest. Okay. And that's already in the presentation that will be distributed to the community, but great flag. Good evening. Thanks for your patience.
Oh, no problem. Wayne Brandon, 30490 South Gibraltar. Vince, did you get a chance to look at 13300? Okay, that was number 1. And 13500, the parking there, it's getting a little ridiculous. They're parking both ways, and I know they said they were gonna pave it, so if they're gonna pave it, fine. But until then, why can't we put up a police line, make them park where they were designated to park before, the additional parking down the street? You know, either pave it and do it right, because people just stop right in the middle of the road, they gotta jump the curb, and they're, you know, blocking traffic, there's vehicles left there, you know, blocking the fire hydrants in the morning and everything. And I talked to an officer the other day, I just asked him, he said they were told to leave it alone. They were working on something, that's fine, but either do it or, you know, go back to the original plan, parking down the street where it was designated for.
I
Because
appreciate
that corner looks terrible. And, you know, when there's 3, 4 cars left there in the morning on Middle Gibraltar Road, and a couple cars left, trucks left there, it just looks bad.
I appreciate
Thank
it a
you.
lot. Thank you so much.
For the public comment portion.
Yeah, please.
There was, our previous councilman, Dill, asked a couple questions about if we have any plans in place for street sectioning, crack and joint sealing, or stormwater CIP. So I was just going to ask if the infrastructure committee can take a look at that at their next meeting and just bring back to us if they've got anything of those.
Love that.
I think they do, have done some crack sealing in the past. I don't know if they have anything programmed for this current, crack sealing, what was the?
Sectional replacement, street sectioning, and then storm and sanitary cleaning in place, or inlining, or.
Definitely the storm, or the sanitary televising and cleaning is something that we currently have.
Okay.
We were at the end of our period where we need to go out and solicit bids to update that.
Okay.
I think if we go back to joint sealing, that we were under a bid with other communities downriver. If I recall, we were at some point under a bid with other communities downriver, so we have to pull that out, but that's the first I've heard that word since new council.
Okay.
Haven't heard joint sealing since, been a while.
Well, you know, that, again, it was brought up by our previous councilman, Bill, and I'm not a big fan of jumping into piggybacking bids and going through those I forget what they call them, but cooperatives, because I understand them and I know where the hidden dollars are. I'm not a big fan of that. I do know that there are plenty of other vendors that would bid crack and joint sealants and sectional replacements, and we wouldn't have to pay those fees to be involved in a cooperative. hidden fees. So if we do that stuff, hopefully we look at, submitting bids out there.
Love it. Thank you. Any other public comment? Well, members of public, thanks for your patience, and it was a longer meeting, but a very informative one. And we'll close public comment, and then would look for a motion from council to enter closed session.
Can we take a break before we go into closed session?
Absolutely. Sorry. We're gonna be entering closed session. I'm gonna have you step out because Chief wants to talk to you about something real quick.
You can talk to me right here.
Cool. Before we go though, anybody leaves, is there a motion to enter closed session with a 5-minute break to proceed that?
I will make that motion.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? Katie, call roll.
Valentine?
Yes.
Wood?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Cosmore?
Yes.
McNabb?
Yes.
Mulnar?
Yes.
Schumate?
Yes. All right, motion carried. Be back in the seats by 8:59. Appreciate you.
Make sure your microphone.
So